Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack. Today we've got a LEGO Star Wars set. It's a very awesome one. It is the Ultimate Collector Series TIE Fighter. This set is recommended for ages 14 and up. It is set number 75095 and it has 1,685 pieces. It is one of only a handful of Ultimate Collector Series sets, and it comes with a very cool and exclusive TIE Fighter pilot. All right, let's check out how many bags we got inside. As to be expected, there's a bunch of stuff inside this box. The bags are labeled up to 12, but because there's some repeats and we've got some unmarked bags of plates and stuff here, that makes 18 bags in total, and we've got a giant manual with some stickers here. A lot of stuff to get built, and let's get started right now. Alright, so I just finished the cockpit. It's got a really nice shape to it, and like most LEGO sets, once you start putting something together, you realize just how big it's going to be, and that's especially the case with this Ultimate Collector Series stuff, because when you compare it to an older TIE Fighter, you have an idea of just how big this thing's going to actually get. So most of the bags are dedicated to actually the wings, and let's get started right now. Alright, I just finished this awesome set. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But first, let's just take a look at the minifig. This is the TIE Fighter pilot exclusive to the Ultimate Collector Series set, and the printing that makes this minifig exclusive is both for the helmet and the printing on the arms. When you compare them next to another pretty recent TIE Fighter pilot, you can see the main bit of printing on the helmet that is different are those two silver streaks that go down the front of the face. Also, that dotted nose pattern looks a little better, and there's just a little bit of a difference in print detailing right above the visor. I'm sure you could probably point out some other very minute differences, but the main difference for this helmet, and I definitely think it looks better, are those two streaks in the center. Here's his arm printing as well, and this isn't so common, but both prints on the arms are actually different. On his right side, it's a little bit simpler. He has that all too familiar symbol of the Empire, and just a basic print for a pocket. And when we take a look at the left arm, he once again has another symbol, a slightly different printing for the pocket, and a print that looks somewhat like a control pad or a control panel for his suit. A great looking fig. We're probably not going to get a TIE Fighter Fighter pilot that looks better than this one, and because he's exclusive to this Ultimate Collector Series set, I think he's going for around $40 on BrickLink. That is pretty nuts considering this set isn't even retired yet. Also, his face isn't the standard angry clone trooper face like we normally get, but instead it's the slightly smirking clone trooper face, which is less common. Alright, let's actually move on to this big old TIE fighter now. And the scale of this thing is big, I mean really big. Here it is next to an older TIE fighter that's a playset, and when they're next to each other here you can see the wing of this Ultimate Collector Series one is almost twice as tall. You're probably thinking that this is very, very fragile, especially when you see that the arms to the wings between these two sets are almost the exact same width. But I gotta say the designers were very clever and had a couple of tricks in there, obviously using Technic, and they also had somewhat of a two-stage process of attaching studs directly on, and then clamping down other sets of studs at a 90-degree angle. So I feel pretty confident picking this thing up and shaking it around. Not that I would be doing that a lot, but it certainly can be moved easily. You can rest the TIE Fighter wings on a flat surface very easily, and the whole thing really does feel pretty strong. Looking at the wings themselves, they've actually got some really nice detailing all over. They got the shapes of these elongated hexagon wings pretty well, and I like the sort of varied use of stud work on the outside. Instead of using all studded plates or all smooth plates, you can see there's a bit of both. Ultimately, I think this makes for a slightly more interesting looking build. These two wings here are giant surfaces that are somewhat simple and I think very easy for a designer to make look bad. So it's nice to see that on top of the varied black stud surfaces, these gray web-like crossbeam structures also have a bit of variation too. It's nothing super fancy by any means, but little details like this really go a long way in making a build look just that much better. So ultimately really happy with the way the wings turned out. They turned out both structurally sound and very good to look at. And I gotta say, I pretty much have the same feelings about the cockpit. Looking dead on at the TIE Fighter, you can see that spherical shape of the TIE Fighter cockpit sort of blend or melt into those thin arms out to the wings. And it might look like the more complex bit of building for this model, but it really was very logical and there was a lot of little easy patterns to follow. It was probably the most enjoyable part of the build. Aesthetically, we've got some really good looking stuff here. There's a few stickers that you can see, but not really a ton. And the best print detailing, of course, for this model are both the TIE Fighter windshield and the hatch on the top. You can see the laser cannons on the bottom are very minimal, just a little bit of trans red sticking out, and on the back the main thruster has a nice build around it, and on the inside those are just some regular trans pieces over dark gray, and those little trans red dots are supposed to be ion maneuvering jets. Moving on up to the top hatch again, it actually opens on two joints, which is a really nice little function, and it makes getting the pilot in and out of the TIE Fighter very easy. The control stick for this pilot looks really good, as well as the seat. You might have a slightly better angle of seeing the interior if I take the windshield off. And you can also see on the sidewalls, if you look carefully, there's some stickers that show off the control detailing for the interior of the cockpit. And the designers, even knowing that the cockpit was not going to be a focal point of the build at all, still went ahead and made it look pretty good. Taking a step back from the TIE Fighter for a second, here is the stand alone that it came on. And this ship, consisting of about 1,500 pieces and a lot of larger plate pieces, definitely has a lot of weight to it. So you can see that this stand is pretty much entirely Technic. As you might imagine, it's extremely sturdy. And if you look at the Technic stand from the profile here, you can see that the main bit is actually leaned back ever so slightly, so the TIE Fighter model is regularly tilted back at all times. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the placard here, which also has a spot for our TIE Fighter pilot. It's got that nice single blue graphic for the TIE Fighter there, and of course displays some of the main specs of the ship. Putting the TIE Fighter back on the stand again, the last thing I want to show is just how well it sits there. Even with the slight tilt back, this whole thing spins around very smoothly. So that's pretty much it for the review. It's a very well built ship. Usually when something looks incredibly accurate, at some point or another you're probably going to find some structural insecurities with the build, but here I can't really find anything that I could call an insecurity. In terms of build integrity and how good this thing looks, we probably couldn't have asked for a better collector's TIE Fighter, and what you really gotta ask yourself is how much you like this particular ship. No collector's series ship is a cheap purchase, and they all take up quite a bit of space to display. I for one am pretty happy with this TIE Fighter. We were putting off getting this particular collector series set, but now that I've got it complete in front of me, I really like it a lot, and I'm pretty sure this build is gonna stick around with us for a while. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to buy the TIE Fighter Ultimate Collector series, we will leave a link in the video description below for you. Other than that, thanks a lot for watching, and if you enjoy our content, feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.